But that is a separate thing.
I don't understand that, by the way, but I really don't.
You wouldn't sell exit planning as a part of this. It's like, and when you're ready to exit, like we can do that. But like we would refer you to our partner company or exit planning company for that. You know, that's a separate service. I think this is about consulting for equity isn't necessarily consulting for equity with the intent to sell at a particular moment in time. It's
to us it is.
It is to me too. I think it's not.
I
it's
would
not
love
sexy
incentive to actually build.
But do you say that on the front end?
Yes. 100%.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I stand corrected. But I mean, do you require that? And so
I tell them I'm not interested in having equity in companies
if you have no
aren't
intention
interested in
right?
selling.
Yeah.
You never want to sell, then
Yes.
we won't do it.
Yeah, we're
saying
the same thing.
You get a little bit all along the way, but you really are looking for the payday.
We want to receive, the subtitle of our book is How to Receive a Lifetime of Income Every 3 to 5 years. Right? That's what we want. Except we want to do that 20 times a year.
Right.
Yeah, if you get a ladder going and you're doing one of
Let's
those.
start with 1,000 companies and take it from there and get to 10,000. I'm not joking. I want to own companies in every industry.
I don't think 1,000 companies is an even and out there kind of thing.
I know. Thank you.
5.91 million.
I'm just trying not to scare my team or Tim or Carson.
Does the adjustment of this, the simplification, affect what we were talking about doing for affiliates?
So I didn't know that we were eliminating the first thing. Does that because I know you said that. Did you guys hear that? Did you hear it?
Yeah, I think it's part of the first part, right? So in other words, if we're only
So you're gonna
committing,
go straight to a 25K sale?
yeah, because if we're eliminating 9 weeks and going to 5, we can just, it would be a lot more comfortable to have the consultation, the discovery,
Part of that.
part of 5 weeks versus, oh my gosh, you got to get it done, in the next week because I want to sell the 25,000. So it's a little bit.
But I don't think we were super clear on that, Roland, if it was going away or not.
So what's the
It's a lot more
Percentage of
lift.
25?
To Chris's point,
So what's the pay?
I think it's a lot more lift to get that 25K sale than it is to get the 5K sale, right? So
Sorry, the person bringing the deal gets no longer part of the 5K, they're getting part of the 25K?
we're talking about.
Nothing's decided.
I mean, you could pay him 10%. You could pay him 2,500 on 25K.
Yeah, you
and
can
I
pay 50% of one or 10% of the other.
So let me ask you this,
It'd be
is
the
there
same.
anyone that would pay the 5K that wouldn't pay the 25K that we'd want to make it a step?
Especially because you credit the 5K towards the 25K,
Uh-huh.
so you're walking away from the 5K if you don't do the 25K.
Correct.
Yes, it's beautiful that way, huh?
So then
So there is lots of people.
I
so
guess
you'd
I
wanna
can't figure
keep
out
the
then
5K.
what the promise is of the 25K versus the 5K.
The 5K is the assessment, basically. It's the financial thing.
Yep. And then once we have enough information to put an assessment together, so you're gonna do a 50% affiliation fee, you're gonna pay 2,500 of the 5K out to whoever's bringing the lead. The rest of the 2,500 is gonna be split between COGS and profit. And the COGS is basically going to be, let me access files, let me come up with our list of whatevers and prepare for a consultation where we can build value for you that leads into do you want this credited towards 25K for the next, in most cases, month, where we're gonna take you through these things.
And give you the plan to get to where you ultimately want.
And what we're gonna do is we are basically gonna treat this as the test drive, so you get to try us on, we get to create maximum value for you, and at the end of it, you're either gonna say, that was amazing, glad we paid that, and we're off to the races, or you're gonna say, what we hope you end up saying is, that was so valuable, you clearly know your stuff and what you're doing, and yes, I want access to the rest of your team, your board, your everything for life by actually structuring a consult for equity.
So I was trying to get from 3 sales down to 2, because it just seemed like there was a lot of sales happening. So what if, and again, this is academic because ultimately you test and try different things. Because you're currently just doing the front end 25 grand. And you're getting it, and so are other people. So that's why I was thinking 25 grand on the front end isn't a massive lift. And it's a pretty simple thing to say, for 25 grand, we're gonna do this financial review, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, and you're gonna get this huge package of awesomeness for 25
We
grand.
can test starting there. I'm just thinking about like the people in Epic referring people in.
So here's the other thing we could do. We could say, we've got this thing, it's 25 grand, but here's the way that it works. You put 5 down, and for 5 grand, we're gonna do a financial review, right? And that's gonna take this long, and then we're gonna present the 5 grand, and if you decide at this point, like, hey, you don't want to do anything, you could cut it off right then and there. But obviously if we're going to move forward, then you know, we're going to invoice you or bill you for the rest of the
Can I make
20.
an argument a little bit? I mean, I just know how it works in my world right now. And when we come back, we've done our assessment. We're meeting with them for the second time. We're giving either we've decided not to give a proposal, just the findings, right? So we're just kind of come back and saying, here's a report of what we found, but we've determined that we don't want them as a client. Most often, we come back with the proposal, and at that point, once we've gone through what's happening and what can happen, it is like 50% of the time they sign right there and send it off. So it's a really strong play into number 3. I mean, there's an argument to be made that is really makes it very easy to go right into the consult for equity at that point. I'm not suggesting skipping the 5 weeks. I'm just saying if it was included as part of it, I think it's one of the strongest pieces to get them to commit to the equity.
Oh yeah, everybody agrees to that. Nobody's saying that shouldn't be there.
You know,
it's just,
I'm
do you do a
saying-
5K and then a 25 and then a this, or do you say it's 25?
I'm just saying if you have that before, if you have that too early before the equity piece,
Yeah.
there's a bigger gap. And if you make that as part of the playing to equity, there's some strength to it, to the sales piece.
more people in if we start with?
You're gonna get a lot more people if you start at number 1.
I think so too.
At 5K.
Yeah.
You are. You're gonna get that barrier.
And
just
then,
gonna
from,
get
and then from there,
you're gonna get a ton more people that are willing to invest the 5K to start.
and then do you go right to consult for equity to number 3, or do you
Depends
finish?
on the deal, I think.
Does
So you create 2 paths.
On the size of the
You
company.
could jump straight to the deal if you wanted. I just like, to me, there could be a lot of deals we don't want to do.
I know.
So I like the 5, I like the 30 days, or I like a meeting, because that's all I do, to know. I want to sit down with you face to face, eyeball to eyeball, and say, does this person seem coachable? Do they seem, smarmy? How do I feel about this?
I think that you're going to see 2 things. I think you're going to have some people that are like, this whole thing eventually, I understood that it was 5K to get to consult for equity. I've already agreed in my mind on a certain amount I want to give up. I already know your reputation. I agree with everything that you
Yes.
shared, and I'm just ready to go.
Yes, you will.
And we've already done a little bit of an initial assessment, and I think there will be some people where it's like, great, we're going to start that process, and there will other be people where they're humming and hawing. It's like, if it were me, I would love tactically as a salesperson to if I saw someone wasn't ready to commit, I'd like to say, I don't know if I'm ready to commit to you.
Right, exactly.
So for the next 30 days, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to blow your mind with value, and then at the end of the 30 days, we're going to come back together and figure out if we're going to play or not.
What were you going to say, Carson?
I was just gonna say that what you proposed was the combining of these 2 steps. Like, is there a way to combine these 2 steps? So that the moment I kick this off, we're already lining up the quarterback, we're talking about this, and we've got essentially you've got 5 weeks to set this up, but it's assumed that we're gonna move that. And then if we get to that point and we don't like it, we pull the plug. But there is no step 3, it's part of step 2.
And I'm just saying it doesn't matter. Do you know why?
Why?
Because the market will teach us. We're going to try every variation. I'm also going to tell you right now that the moment I scale up to multiple salespeople for that 25K or consult for equity conversation, when I get brought in, you're just going to have preferences on it. The preferences come down to the salesperson as much as the person being sold.
Sure.
Right?
Somebody just feels really comfortable going 5K and then later on doing a 25-minute.
One of the safest things that you can do to increase conversions is to add a step and produce a 2-step drop sell. And it's just like, what we're going for is this, but you can tell they're not ready for that. So this is what I'm going to recommend as your next step, which a month later or 2 weeks later leads to that again.
Yeah, I mean,
They just needed time to marinate. They needed time to
that's kinda
experience
what I was
value.
It's 25K for this big thing, and you tranche it.
Yeah.
You're like, look, what we absolutely have to do before we can do anything is this thing here, and that's $5,000.
Yes.
And so if you want to do anything, it's $5,000.
Yes.
And so give us $5,000. We're going to produce this report. If once you've seen this report, you're like, that's it, don't do it. We're going to produce this report within 14 days, and at the end of 14 days, you're going to do 5K now, and we're going to bill you the 20K balance in 30 days. Like, that's just going to happen. If between now and then you decide that you don't want to do anything, let us know and we won't bill you the 20K. Was what I was suggesting as an option. But again, it's like what you have is you could go 5, 25.
You have 4
can
rainmakers in the room that are all going to have opinions on selling, and then you just get to figure out what the market wants, and
Yeah.
we'll custom create the thing.
Exactly.
Because there's validity to trying all of these ideas.
And like you said, there's some people who you're talking to them, they're like, yeah, no, I'm in. This sounds great, and it's a 20. It's also going to be somewhat medium dependent, maybe source dependent. Because if you're doing an event where somebody's been, live and in person, you don't make a $5,000 offer, you make a $25,000 offer.
Correct.
That's
course.
that's just crazy. If somebody just called in off a form,
I think you need a little bit of versatility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if I send it to my general contracting company, I would love to go for the 25K, but my business partner, who's doom and gloom, will be, oh no.
That'll be different in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be different.
Yeah, and so but you might be like, look, here's what we're gonna do. We're just saying so we can get a handle on our finance, figure out where we are. They're gonna give us an amazing report of findings. It's gonna be super valuable. It's $5,000, and if we decide that it's not, then the 20K is cancelable. And if it is and it's valuable, then
Then we'll
as an
decide.
option.
Yeah.
So and I agree. It's not which one would you want, Deanna, if you were selling it? All the options.
I would want all of them.
Yeah, I mean so.
But I will say that the taking the 5 into the 20, giving the credit for the 25, Roland does it at his live events every time, and we sell it very high.
It's just like a
because
deposit.
they don't want to lose. He'll say you get 10,000 for being here in the room, what you purchased. They don't want to lose that 10,000.
That's how we
and
sell.
so they buy every
That's how we
single
sell the
time.
$65,000 webinar. Our webinars, when we go high end, every other one between 10 and 65K, it always starts with, so you've been pitched, what do you want? Well, first of all, you can't buy. The most you can do right now is pay $1,000 deposit so we can evaluate each other over the next 96 hours, because we're going to select our best 50 candidates, and everyone else we're going to say no to. And people are crawling out of their chairs
To pay that $1,000
for a paid consultation.